Senator Peters.
Thank you, Chairman Hoeven, and thank you for talking about infant formula and talking about our bill specifically, and thank you for eliciting a response from our witness that we both really appreciate. So thank you for doing that. Dr. McCary, when I was chair of Homeland Security and Government Affairs, we did a study looking at persistent drug shortages throughout the country. And found that a lot of it is because we're over-reliant on foreign sources for those supplies, and many of the precursors, as you know, are all overseas. And in fact, in that study, when I put it out, I said it's pretty clear based on these challenges with the supply chain that when there is a pandemic, we're going to find ourselves in a very difficult position. 6 months later, that academic study became reality as we dealt with the pandemic, and certainly saw that we had highly efficient supply chains, but they were not resilient. And I remain concerned that the FDA does not have the visibility it needs into essential medicine supply chains, from the key ingredients needed for manufacturing our drug products to the distribution to the patients in hospitals and pharmacies. And these blind spots clearly limit our ability to accurately assess national security risk, including our over-dependence on China in particular for many critical inputs. So last week, I reintroduced the MAPS Act with several of my bipartisan colleagues, which would address this critical gap by requiring HHS through public-private partnerships to essentially map out the medical supply chains using data analysis and to assess all the threats and vulnerabilities. So my question for you is, do you agree that this is a significant concern? And if so, will you commit to work when we pass this legislation to make this a reality?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to channel The Constitution Corner. If you're new here, where we call out the lies, expose the swamp, and stand up for the God-given liberties of the American people. If you're tired of government bureaucrats dodging questions, if you're fed up with our leaders putting China first and America last, then buckle up, because this latest Senate hearing will light a fire under you. Today we're diving deep into a Senate exchange that might seem bureaucratic on the surface, but underneath? It's a flashing red warning sign for our country's national security, food safety, and medical independence.
Senator Peters, I love this topic. It's so important. I'm glad you're raising it. I've written about it in a book in 2019. I've written about it in the Journal of the American Medical Association. I felt like no one has been paying attention. I warned about exactly what happened at the beginning of COVID, and it happened. So I am totally aligned with you that this is an important issue. I think there are root causes that we've not been talking about that we need to talk about. I mean, we can get out a ruler and map out the supply chains, and I'm not opposed to that exercise, but the underlying problem is that manufacturing has moved overseas. And it's not just one or two things. It is most of what we use in anesthesia to perform surgery. It is most antibiotics. It is most of these cutting-edge therapies. It is the vast majority of generic drugs. And so I totally am in support of President Trump's agenda here to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And we've already had a tremendous amount of success. There are companies announcing moving manufacturing to the United States. We're creating incentives. We're removing regulation. And this is a national security issue. So I am 100% with you on this.
Very good. In April, FDA reported suspending programs to improve testing for potential bird flu virus contamination of milk, cheese, and pet food because of the mass layoffs that occurred. We know that the bird flu virus can kill pets who eat contaminated raw pet food, and it can pose a real danger to humans who also consume unpasteurized dairy products. As you know, the more people and animals who get infected with bird flu, the more opportunities there are for the virus to mutate. And I'm really worried that we only may be a couple, and it's not just me, others are worried that there may be a couple of mutations away from having another potentially pandemic. So my question for you, sir, is with the continued spread of bird flu in the country and the significant personnel disruptions at FDA food safety programs, could you tell me and the committee specifically what the FDA is currently doing to ensure our food is free from bird flu contamination?
Well, first of all, that story was debunked by the Washington Post. It was the normal procurement pause to recalibrate the equipment. And so when that happened, people who are trying to make us look bad, sometimes internally, sometimes externally, said, aha, there were layoffs and there's a pause in some of the milk inspection, and therefore the cuts may have been related to this or were related to this, and that's going to affect food safety. No, it was a normally scheduled pause to recalibrate equipment. It went through its normal schedule, and it is back up and running, and it's normally done to recalibrate the equipment. The cuts were to 380 communications people. What's the right number of communications people for the FDA? Not 380. 125 travel coordinators, 13 strategy offices, 2,600 HR people, and budget and procurement people. So, I mean, are we not supposed to address some of this redundancy?
My question is, what exactly are you doing to safeguard our food supply and to safeguard the people from bird flu? So that was the question. I think you're prepared for a different question, and you gave the answer to the different question. But the question is specifically what you're doing.
You
Please.
suggested the cuts increased our risk of bird flu, and I firmly reject that. That's not true, and the inspection trains are running on time.
I think I said personnel disruptions. So
there's no personnel disruptions involved.
There are no personnel disruptions.
Calibration facility that was written about.
So there are no personnel disruptions related to your work on bird flu? Is that what you're telling this committee?
What I'm saying is the story that you referenced was saying that our milk calibration facility paused.
I don't remember
disruptions.
I don't think I cited a particular article. I don't know where. Obviously, you're prepared. You're prepared for a question that I didn't ask.
No,
that's fine.
You referenced.
You probably gave a good answer to a question that I didn't ask, and so it shows you were prepped for it. I'm asking you, what are you doing about bird flu? Just answer that, please. Don't give me a runaround about other stuff.
We're doing a lot on bird flu.
Don't use your prepared talking points. Tell me, what are you doing to help us and protect the American people from bird flu? Please tell me that.
We're doing a lot on bird flu.
Please tell me that. That's why we're here.
So, look, when there is an antigenic shift that represents a epidemic threat, when there is human-to-human transmission, that strain that is involved in that human-to-human transition is the strain that we should be using to base any potential future vaccines. And in the interim, as I said in my opening comments, delivering on a universal flu shot is one of our top goals. And there are 2 universal flu shots that are in development. And we are not in a receive-only mode with those developers. We are actively trying to partner with those individuals, because it may be that you could come in for a single a single influenza vaccine or a 2-dose strategy or something like that, and be immune for life against multiple different variants of influenza, including bird flu. And so early preclinical data in animal studies has shown some promise that a universal flu shot using a traditional vaccine platform can actually create antibodies to the current strain of bird flu. The question, of course, is, and I think this is really what you're getting at, is if we have a bird flu epidemic or even an outbreak in a human-to-human fashion, what strain is that going to be? Because one thing we know for sure is it's not going to be the strain that's circulating right now in millions of birds. So it is a huge priority for us, Senator.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Let's talk about infant formula drug shortages and, yes, bird flu. But more importantly, let's talk about the deeper crisis this hearing reveals. America's total dependence on foreign nations, particularly communist China, for the things we need to survive. And the unelected bureaucrats who are doing very little, if anything, to change that. Did you catch that? Senator Peters, a Democrat, actually said something that makes sense. I know, mark your calendars. He pointed out that our medical supply chain is so dependent on other countries that when a crisis hits, we're screwed. And he's right. During COVID, we saw it firsthand. But here's the kicker. They knew this was coming. Peters even says he predicted it in a study. So let me ask you this. Why didn't they fix it? Why did they wait until the shelves were empty and Americans were dying before taking it seriously? I'll tell you why. Because Washington doesn't care until the problem lands in their own backyard. Now he's touting the MAPS Act. Sounds fancy, right? Another acronym. Another bill. Another expensive government solution. Look, we don't need more legislation. We need action. We need American companies manufacturing American medicine right here on American soil. And not under some bloated public-private partnership that lines the pockets of globalist elites. This isn't complicated, folks. President Trump had it right. Bring back our factories. Incentivize Made in America medicine. Cut the red tape. Stop kissing China's boots. Simple. Well, look who's suddenly waving the Trump flag. Dr. McCary starts talking about how he supports President Trump's agenda on manufacturing. Funny, isn't it? These same bureaucrats and so-called experts mocked Trump when he said we needed to end our reliance on China. But now, when it's convenient, they're parroting his policies like they were always on board. Let's be clear. President Trump was right about China. He was right about the supply chain. He was right about bringing manufacturing home. And these clowns are finally catching up, years too late. Now let's talk about this bird flu fiasco. Peters asks a straightforward question. What is the FDA doing to protect us from contaminated food? A fair question. Americans deserve to know whether their milk, cheese, and pet food are safe. But what does Dr. McCary do? He dodges the question. He goes into this long-winded response about procurement pauses and equipment calibration. Are you kidding me? That's the kind of bureaucratic doublespeak that makes normal people want to tear their hair out. This is about public health and national security, and all they can do is pass the buck and blame the schedule. Let me tell you something, folks. When you hear a government official start using words like recalibration, instead of just saying we stopped testing food, you know you're being lied to. And good on Peters for not letting him off the hook. Even he's fed up with the runaround. He tells Dr. McCary to drop the talking points and answer the damn question. Pardon my language, but that's what every American wants to say. Then, when we finally get an answer, what do we get? More bureaucratic buzzwords. Universal flu shot research. Early preclinical data. Antigenic shift. Folks, that doesn't help now. We're talking about milk and cheese on your kitchen table today, not some theoretical vaccine 10 years from now. What are you doing now? That's the question. And they still haven't answered it. Let me be blunt. This hearing should scare every American who loves this country. Because it exposes a government that is unprepared, unaccountable, and unwilling to act. We have white heavy checkmark drug shortages because we gave our manufacturing base away to China. White heavy checkmark an FDA that's slashing staff while dangerous viruses creep into our food supply. White heavy checkmark bureaucrats who would rather talk in circles than tell the truth. White heavy checkmark and a Congress that thinks studying the problem is the same as solving it. This is why we need strong America First leadership. Not globalist puppets. Not committee chairs who talk a big game but get nothing done. We need men and women who aren't afraid to say the truth. China is not our partner. Bureaucrats are not our saviors. And unless we take back control of our supply chains, our food, our medicine, and our government, we're going to keep getting blindsided. If you agree that it's time to bring back Made in America, if you believe that our food should be safe, our medicine should be domestic, and our government should serve we the people, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Statue of Liberty, subscribe to the Constitution Corner. Loudspeaker, share this video with every patriot you know. Because the only way we fix this broken system is together. We are the Constitution Corner, where Americans' root guides its future. Until next time, stand strong, speak truth, and may God bless the United States of America.